Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here for our first race of 2021, and of course it kicks off with the touring car division. Just about to get qualification underway here at a beautifully sunny Austin, Texas, around the Circuit of the Americas National Course. And what a season we have got lined up for you. For those that haven't heard, we're coming back bigger and better than ever here at Flux Motorsport with 7 different championships to tickle that pickle. And as mentioned, kicking it off with the FMTCC, and we've got a few new drivers in here just to try and mix things up. It's going to look tasty, believe me. Looking through practice, I think our reigning champion, TheConsole, is going to have his work cut out for him if he's going to try and remain the current championship holder come the end of season 1 here in 2021. Just following round one of his probably closest rivals, new driver in the form of Pro Fubby, driving in the number 55 Emochi this season, did finish up top inside the practice session with a 1 minute 35.692, which is a blistering pace, and I'm pretty sure we're going to expect some strong performance as well inside the qualification session. For those of you that don't know me, I am Murphy. I'm going to be bringing you the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship for this season. And as we kick off tonight, please let me know whether or not you're watching it for the first time. I know we've had quite a few new community members. I'd love to know whereabouts you're watching it from inside this big old world of ours. And also let me know your predictions. Are we going to have another whitewash from the console, or are we going to have somebody pissing on his chips? We'll have to find out over the next coming 8 weeks to see who will be crowned the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Champion inside 2021. I'm sure the console is going to be pushing very, very hard for it. You can see here Pro Fubby pulling out all the stops on his first hot lap, getting a little bit wild there, and he's going to have to wait until the traffic passes. So we'll switch over and let's see where the console is at the moment on track. Always notorious with that pink actual vision number 8. Always keep your eye out for the pink car. It's certainly going to be pushing hard through this season, and he started off in fine fettle, currently setting the purple sector 1 time at the 28.989. He has been able to better that inside the practice session, as have a couple of other drivers. But let's see what he can put out there for another lap. And also just want to introduce a few of our other drivers as well, some reoccurring familiar faces in the form of the Leggies, father and son combo, both opting for the IBAC Racing BMWs this season. That is going to be super interesting. If you haven't seen our lineup yet for the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship, be sure to hit us up on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook, and you'll be able to see all of our championship info and tracks for the upcoming season. But we definitely have some wild cards thrown in for the touring cars. Got a return from Tibby as well. His hardware let him down last season, but he is back and he's going to try and impress as well inside the BMW. Running in the number 76 in the bright orange. We can just see him in the foreground there. Keep an eye out for the Dutchman. Certainly looks forward to the Touring Car Championship, and we can see the console has set a really high benchmark there with a 135.762 to get this qualification session underway. That is currently 1.943 quicker than all of the drivers out on their hot laps at the moment. Also worth a note there that Wadjo has come in only 0.7 away from the pace. Let's have a quick flick over to Wadj. He's running in the 25 Hakeem Renault Megane. All the rest of the field, apart from the Leggies and Tibby, all locked in for the Renault Megane. It's usually a familiar sight, but I do think that the BMW is going to be set up and poised for a good season this season, so long as they can keep it pointing in the right direction. Looks as though we've got a few drivers yet to set a lap. However, looks as though they're just coming in now. Lecky currently sat in the pits. Old Smokey, but Kovkarl is just leaving. Familiar face in the number 20 PCCF vehicle. And whereabouts is Pro Fubby? Currently 11th. I do expect that to change. Looks as though he's chasing Al Axon at the moment. All 82 currently sat in 3rd position on this grid. And it looks as though Fubby's getting a beautiful draft off him here. Get to have a little bit of a glimpse on which sort of projection they're taking into turn 1. Looks as though he's playing it safe. Opting for the middle of the road there, trying to optimise his drive out. And for those of you that don't know, the circuit, the American National Circuit, real tricky circuit. It's poised pretty well for touring cars, but it's 20 turns altogether, and they are pretty tricky. You can see them coming through the first sector through these regular S's. You see these inside the GP circuit as well. That's when it just starts to differ a little when it comes through to sector 2. So we've got Porsche Man as well, another new driver currently sat in the pits, 11th at the moment in the lineup. Would look to see an improvement from him. And certainly knows his setups, real life Porsche mechanic. Running in the number 53 Cavroul Motorsports this season. Let's have a look where the Leggies are at the moment. Looks as though we've got 74 Leggy in 7th position. Looks as though DJ is currently in 11th. Do expect to see some improvement there. But I think the BMWs are really going to come into their own when it comes down to race pace. I don't think they're going to be able to corner quite as well as the Renaults through this circuit, but they're certainly going to have some pretty quick speed out of those slower corners. TheConsole still remains in pole position, hunting down his first bonus point of the season, should he remain there in 12 minutes and 40 seconds time. So whilst we do have a little bit of time, let's have a little look through the circuits for this touring car season. We are of course starting off with Circuit the Americas National, where we are at the moment. Then we're going to hop on over the Atlantic and head over to the UK for 3 different rounds, starting with Snetterton's 200 circuit, then flying up to Cheshire for Oulton Park's International Circuit, and then back down south to the Silverstone National. Then we're heading over to Germany for the Oschersleben A course. That's going to be a bit of a wild card. A lot of drivers aren't going to be too familiar with that one. And of course we are running on the actual dates as well, so bear in mind that those previous 4 circuits are going to be in and around February and early March, so we could well be in store for some pretty wet racing. We then stick in Germany for race 6 for the Nürburgring Sprint circuit, and then head on over to sunny Spain, or at least we think it might be sunny Spain, on the 16th of March for Catalonia's national circuit. And then my little evil twist that I've put in right at the very end of this season could well come down to a decider, and we're taking it around Monaco, around the Azur circuit. Going to be very, very tricky. Certainly makes for some interesting racing, and I'm sure that the drivers' race licenses are going to be very much in squeaky bum mode for that one. So 11 minutes remaining now inside the qualification session. Nobody able to top TheConsole at the moment. He has bettered his time with a 135.359. Nobody else yet able to get into the 135s. Look over to Wajin, that Hakeem. Running really well at the moment. Top 3, so he finds himself on the second row, just ahead of Al Axon in 4th position. Really looking to make a name for himself right off the bat here. And not seeing much of Waj in lobbies. I know he's been putting in some practice quite clearly from these lap times, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not that can materialise into some serious points come the end of this race. So 10 minutes remaining inside this. Let me give you a quick run through on what you can expect from Flux Motorsport for the rest of this week. It is pretty much the same as last season. For the next race, we head on over to the Algarve GP for the GT1 Championship on Thursday. You can catch that at the same time. That's 8 o'clock UK time, with Lecky 2000 bringing you that one. Lecky now looks as though he's out on track. You can see him there in 14th place at the moment, looking to try and make a late manoeuvre into this qualification session. And then after the GT1s on Thursday, you don't have to wait too long, because we're now bringing you some racing on Friday. This is going to be part of our American time zone event. We kick off with the GTE Championship. That's going to be streamed 8 PM Eastern Standard Time and then you'll be able to catch that live on our YouTube channel. Saturdays is the return of the LMP2 Championship, but we are looking to bring you the streams from that championship this season. You can catch that live 8 PM UK time, and that will be followed by the IndyCar Championship, yet another addition to our American time zone championship list. You can catch that 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. Then Sunday returns the GT3s. That's going to be brought to you by TheConsole, 8 PM UK time, followed by the Stock Car Championship. That comes to you courtesy of 8 PM Eastern Standard Time from our American Championship. So we broadened our horizon, hoping to try and give the Americans a little bit more action out on track, and we will be trying to bring you all of these championships live on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't hit that button just yet, hit the subscribe now to make sure that you don't miss out on any of that action. Also, if you're watching this for the first time and you think, you know what, I quite fancy a go with that, you can hit us up on our website just to join this fantastic community. Head on over to www.fluxmotorsport.com for all of the information that you need to join up. We will welcome you through. We just need a bit of information from you first. We take you through a quick evaluation drive just to make sure that you're up to scratch, and then we let you loose within the community. Plenty of races on a nightly and daily basis, and of course you do get access to the challenges that we set within the community, and of course the championship racing that you're going to be tuning in for this season. So back on over to the action here in Texas. TheConsole still reigns supreme. Looks as though he's getting himself a little bit of a draft at the moment from a Cavul. I think we only have one Cavul at the moment, so I think that might be Porsche Man. It is indeed just one Cavul in the lineup for this season, and it looks as though Porsche Man has since returned to the pits. Oh no, he's just moved out the way, beg your pardon, camera trickery deceiving me there. But Profubby meanwhile has gone purple in Sector 1, he got green Sector 2, Sector 3 times that last time around, and you can see that in the split times, just 0.188 away from the console this time, so I'm going to be keeping a keen eye on his sector times as they come in on this next lap. 7 minutes remaining, and we're going to have a bit of an upset in terms of the pole position. The console now just coming up to the back end of Sector 3. We'll wait and see. Oh, sorry, the back end of Sector 2. Doesn't look as though this one's going to be an improvement though. Got white time showing up in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Profubby meanwhile is also showing up white times in Sector 1, so he's got his work cut out, and with only 6 minutes remaining, if he is going to cause an upset. Being said, looks as though we've got a hot time coming in from Lecky now. He's out in green in Sector 1, green in Sector 2, so we're going to see Lecky jump right up this grid position at the moment. Currently sat in 14th. Let's see whereabouts it lands in as he comes to the end of Sector 3. Let's flash over to him. There we go, just crossing the start-finish lines. Good enough for 6th at the moment, and there is room to be improved there. Did go green in all of his sectors, but looks as though he's just a little bit off the pace at the moment in Sector 2. In fact, it's marginal off the pace in every sector there from Lecky. It looks as though just needs to make a few tenths of improvement, and he'll see himself hopping up potentially into 4th, maybe even 3rd place, unless he pulls out an absolute blinder. So 5.5 minutes remaining now until we get our first race of 2021 into full effect. Just having a look at the comments at the moment. Looks as though Rabbit Stew is putting his cards on the table with Profubby in the console. So rolling the dice there. Also got TGS joining us up on the stream. Good evening to TGS, live from Denmark. Looks as though he's also recognising the pace of Profubby, who has since returned to the pit, so maybe some final adjustments there from the new Brit joining the ranks. Back out on track now though, so he's definitely got enough time for a couple more laps. We've got Pinoy on the comments, recognising that the console is king, but kings can't reign forever. We'll have to wait and see what this season holds. So whilst we've got a few minutes remaining, let's have a little run through the rest of our drivers just so that you can try and familiarise yourselves with the liveries. I think all you 82 doesn't really need any introduction. He's going to be racing in the number 12 Air Bubbles Renault this season, just taking a +1 to his number. I think he opted for the black wheels. I think you can just see him there ahead of Lecky. Menzies, our social media manager, he's returning once again in the number 4 Zavima racing team. Keep an eye out for him, mid-pack at the moment, but certainly got bags of pace, and expect him to do well come the end of this racing session. Tibby, we mentioned before, we haven't seen him yet, but there he is inside the Chevrolet Performance BMW, number 76 there, and it looks as though he's a little bit worse for wear. Caught something on his way around these last couple of laps. Kovkar we've already seen in the number 20. Not currently lapping too great around here. Looks as though he's struggling around Circuit of the Americas as he comes in for a bit of a practice pit stop. I think that is going to be crucial because track temperatures, although they're low, this is an absolute tyre burner. Green Gaming we haven't mentioned so far, so let's have a little look over to him in the number 87 Monster Energy Renault Megane. Currently lapping 3.4 seconds off the leader, but he has got a couple of drivers in and around him. Looks as though DJ Leggy currently struggling for pace, just a couple of tenths quicker than Green Gaming there. Casey Redwood returns to us. We can't check out his car, so let's have a little look in the chase cam. He's in the other Hakeem Motorsport. Just need to check that number so that we can keep an eye out for him. Running in the number 62, and I beg your pardon, it's actually a Horbsner Automotive. And then Old Smoky in the console's team colours, just opting for the green livery instead of the pink. So you can keep an eye out for him in the number 7 Team ACR Renault. But let's get back over to the front. Let's jump back trackside. Have a look over as the console continues to try and head off Pro Fubby. Pro Fubby now less than 2 tenths away, as he has been for a while. And looking at the sectors, no improvements being made by either driver at the moment. Tibby, however, has gone green in sector 1, as has Casey Redwood. And they're both creeping into the 29 seconds now, so we can expect to see some improvement from both Tibby in 9th place and Casey Redwood in 13th. Keep an eye out for them as they come across the line. Currently in sector 2 though at the moment. It looks as though, as I'll bring up the track map just so you can get a good idea, looks as though the console is going to be able to get in another lap, as is just trying to see whether that's a Horbsner or actually it's Wadge just behind, I think. Currently in 4th place, looks as though he's going to get another bite of the cherry as J46 Dyson jumps up into 3rd place, pushes Wadge down. So does Lecky. Lecky then moves up into 4th. So we've got Dyson in 3rd, Lecky in 4th, Wadge now in 5th place. And the console still sat on top. 42 seconds remaining as we come down to the wire here. Looks as though Lecky made up a lot of time there in sector 3. No purples to speak of, but he's certainly looking like he's got a lot of pace. He's certainly fallen into the flow of this national circuit of the Americas now. And that's going to put him in good form when it comes down to the start in just over 2 minutes' time. Keeping an eye out on the rest of the sectors. Tibby did make an improvement, wasn't much, just enough for 1 position at the moment. Casey Redwood, meanwhile, is lapping quite well again. It looked as though it all fell apart to him in the 2nd and 3rd sector, but he is on a green sector 1 this time around. Maybe he can make that improvement. Well, welcome to all those new people that are joining us. You're tuning in for the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship, round 1 here at Circuit of the Americas National, and it looks as though the console is going to secure himself a pole position as we see Pro Fubby going into the pits, and he isn't going to have an opportunity to try and get back out there. J46 Dyson also in the pit, so he's going to come under increased pressure from Lecky and Wadge. Also, All U82 looking to try and make some improvements, but the console crosses the line, secures that pole position. I do believe, I don't think anybody else has got the pace to match him. Let's have a look over to Lecky. Lecky looks as though he's finished his lap, so he's just out on a cool down. 4th position for him, unless Green Gaming or Old Smoky can pull something right out the bag. Old Smoky hasn't set a lap so far, so that is looking pretty worrying for the American. Obviously not feeling this circuit at all, so he's just going to have to try and do damage limitation and pick up as many points as he can. But looks as though the qualification session is now finished. Looks as though some drivers just completing their outlaps, and here it comes, ladies and gents, the confirmed grid for this evening. The console takes pole position with Profubby alongside on row 1. J46 Dyson gets the better of Lecky in the end to form up row 2. Then Wadge in 5th position, followed by the runner-up of last season with All U82 in 6th. Tibby in 7th, followed by 074 Leggy. Then Jack Demenzies in 9th place, followed by Kovkarl in 10th. Then DJ Leggy obviously can't pick up with the pace of his father. Currently in 11th place, followed by Green Gaming. Casey Redwood in 13th, followed by Porsche Man. And then Old Smoky in 15th. So that is what we've got to kickstart this season. The drivers are now going to have their 2 minutes worth of tinker time as I retire and get myself into the box. Whilst we've got a bit of time, let's remind ourselves of the liveries of the drivers. The console in the pink Actro Vision in 1st place. Profubby in that yellow and blue Emochi Motorsport. J46 Dyson, you can spot him with the black and yellow SRT. Lecky in his very typical Momo course. Number 2 there for Lecky. Wadge, newcomer for the season, running in the number 25 Hakeem. All U82 in the number 12 Team Air Bubbles. Followed by Tibby in the BMW in the Chevrolet Performance, number 76. Number 74 is 74 Dyson. 74 Leggy in the IBAC Racing BMW. Then Jack Demenzies in the Zavima Racing Team, that is number 4. Kovkarl number 20 in the PCCF Community Events Online Renault. And then DJ Leggy inside the other Horbsner, the other IBAC Racing BMW. Green Gaming in the number 87 Monster Energy Renault, followed by Casey Redwood in the 62 Horbsner Automotive. Porsche Man inside the number 53 Cavul Motorsport, and then Old Smoky in the other Actrol Vision in the green liveries. So 22 seconds remaining, and then we're going to kickstart this season here at the Circuit of the Americas. Let me know your predictions. It's going to be a massive drag for turn 1. Looks as though the BMWs are far enough away to really not cause much bother, but we'll wait and see what happens as we now wait for the lights. Just syncing up. Keep your eye out, ladies and gents. It's going to be tasty into turn 1, and they are away. Looks as though, and there you can see those BMWs absolutely storming through. Looks as though they're going to make their way into maybe 5th position with 74 Leggy. He looks as though he's moved up into 4th. He's going all the way around the outside here, but it is the console leading to Profubby with J46 Dyson in 3rd place. Lecky remains in 4th with Wadge in 5th. 74 Leggy in 6th position. It looks as though DJ Leggy just falling down a couple of places there from the start. Not too much drama here. Looks as though all drivers are away, and away quite smoothly. That's what we like to see here. And we've got a train of cars building up here with the console leading to Profubby. Profubby coming under a bit of pressure from Dyson and Lecky there in the background. Also, Wadge is looking like he's going to be able to make his way up into this mix. They're just shutting the door on Dyson, not allowing him to cut through on the inside. jump on board at the moment with Dyson. Let's have a good view of what's going on here. So that is Lecky ahead with Profubby and TheConsole just being able to pull away ever so slightly. He's almost got a second to Profubby at the moment. Jumping back trackside, you can see now most cars looking pretty spaced out. We've got a bit of a gap forming up between OU82 and 74 Ledge. And then we've got Tibby, DJ Ledgy behind, Kovkarl, Porsche Man in 11th place. But Jack Menzies must have got himself in a bit of bother. He's fallen all the way back down into 12th position, just ahead of Green Gaming. Casey Redwood in 14th, and then Old Smoky in 15th. Console now, though, he's got past that 1 second margin. However, Lecky is holding on to the back of Profubby and he's not letting go. Also looks as though White is putting some pressure on Dyson at the moment in 4th place. And that is potentially going to allow 74 Ledgy to try and make his way up and through. Not too far away at the moment. Looks as though just over a second between 74 Ledgy and Wadjo. As the camera pans across, we can see there the battle still remains between Lecky and Profubby at the moment. And TheConsole has lost a little bit of time, it seems, coming out through that out through the end of Sector 1. It's just allowed Profubby and Lecky to catch up ever so slightly. Let's jump on board at the moment inside the cockpit of Lecky, and let's have a look how this one's panning out. You can see a little different approach there into the tight cutback. As we come around to this pretty tricky sweeping right-hander. Whether or not you can clip those apexes without letting the rear end step out. Luckily, perfectly dry, in fact perfect conditions around this. Not too hot, beautiful sunny skies here in Austin, Texas. And in the wet, those curbs can be a real nightmare, but Lecky using them to his full advantage, making sure he's taking the short way around the circuit. And you can see there, J46 Dyson is still being hassled by Wadge just in the background. Meanwhile, looks as though Casey Redwood has had a bit of a mishap, fallen back down into 15th position at the moment. Also looks as though we've got a bit of a battle going on here. Let's have a look over to DJ Ledgy, who's become right on board at the right time. Looks as though Kovkarl was making a move up the inside, clips his rear end, and that's going to put Kovkarl under pressure from Jack Menzies now. Let's have a look how this one plays out as they go through the S's. Don't want to lose any momentum through there because you want to keep and maintain as much speed as you can, but there's a little bit of speed scrubbed from Jack Menzies there in the Zavima. You see his rear end just stepping away. I wonder whether or not he's picked up a little bit of damage somewhere on the rear suspension, because maybe he's just absolutely throwing it through the S's. He's certainly got a bag of pace here as he catches up to the rear end of DJ Ledgy. Looks as though he's going to get that move done as well as DJ Ledgy just crosses over the track limits. And it is indeed. Kovkarl moves up into 9th. Jack Menzies in 10th. And DJ Ledgy now falls down into 11th position. That is Green Gaming that you can see just catching up in the rear view of that. Let's have a look over to our leader, TheConsole, leading by 1.2 seconds now to Profubby. Profubby still being hounded by Lecky there. Lecky just not letting go in that black and yellow Momo. Sounds a little bit weird saying black and yellow Momo. Might have to avoid that through the rest of the season. Let's have a look whether or not he's going to make any moves into turn 1. It's a bit of a weird turn this for those of you that haven't driven the circuit of the Americas. You can take a few different lines into this one. The optimum line is the one that we've just seen TheConsole doing, but you can make some moves. It just takes being a little bit brave and sometimes a little bit stupid depending on whether or not you make any contact. Looks as though Lecky playing it safe though with 39 minutes remaining inside this race. Now, for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, it's going to be pretty familiar throughout all of our championships. All of them opt in for 45 minutes of racing with 20 minutes of qualifying, so you'll be able to expect the same sort of runouts. And we also sync our weather systems based on the forecast from the day before the race actually takes place. So you can check what the weather is going to be like, much like all of our drivers, depending on where the championship's being held. Just check it 24 hours before the race day and you'll have a good idea what these drivers are going to have in store. Not really coming into play here at Circuit of the Americas. However, expect big things when we head on over to the UK for the next 3 rounds of the FluxMotorsport Touring Car Championship. Look what's going on back here in 5th position with J46 Dyson, with all U82 all over the back of him at the moment. Having a little look up the inside there, but Dyson is well onto it. Just holds his line, and he's going to have his work out. We know that all U82 has got bags of pace based on last season. As he just gets a little bit wild there into the final turn, that is probably going to be a slowdown, and it's going to allow J46 Dyson just a little bit more breathing room. Let's have a look what's going on. A bit further down the pack, we've got 74 Leggy has fallen back somewhere and must have missed that one. He's now being chased by DJ Leggy and Green Gaming in 10th, 11th and 12th place respectively. So interesting turnout for the Bucks there. I think 74 Leggy is going to have a bit of pace to be able to maybe make amends for that. But definitely wasn't expecting to see him so far down the grid. A lot of time to try and make up for it though. So back on over to our leaders, TheConsole leading Pro Fubby still with Lecky 2000 just hanging out in the background. No way past at the moment, however Wadgy's also keeping within touching distance, just 4.3 seconds away from the leader. That is pretty much one major mistake, maybe 2 little minor corrections, and he could well find himself in the back running of this one. So making an instant impact here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship, and another one to look out for as the season progresses for sure. Looks as though we've got continuing action going on here. Green Gaming holding on to the back of the 2 Leggies at the moment in the BMWs. Wasn't looking like he had too much pace in the qualification session, and actually they find themselves quite a bit off the pace of the race leaders, but 74 Leggy really struggled last lap around, finds himself 8 seconds off the leader. He was previously in the qualification maybe 1.5 to 1.7 seconds away from those pace laps. And it looks as though Green Gaming is just about to make the move up the inside of DJ Leggy, so Green Gaming moves up into 11th position. DJ Leggy falls back down into 12th, and looks as though struggling in the BMW, at least around this COTA National circuit. Looks as though he's about to make that move up the inside. Like I mentioned earlier, he's not going to be able to brake in time, but is he going to have to drive out of this one? The BMW able to put the power down. Of course, it is rear wheel drive compared to the front wheel drive of the Renault Megane. Doesn't look he's going to be able to though, and I do imagine that the Megane is going to have a bit more ability to hold its speed through these S's, provided that you get them right. Looks as though we just ran a little bit wide on exit of that first S turning. Not costing him too much there, the Canadian. Back over to the front, let's have a look whether or not it's changed. Doesn't look as though it has at all. Let's jump on board with Lecky and let's have a look at how these 3 drivers are sort of running the train, whether or not we've got any differences in line. We are on board with Lecky 2000 at the moment, chasing down Pro Fubby and cutting a lot of that corner there. Don't think it's a slowdown, just running a ragged edge there of the track limits, what we like to see, clipping the apex and then some. Looks as though he's got a good drive as well out into the start-finish straight. Pro Fubby though just looks as though he's bettered it ever so slightly, or that is a change in the gear ratios. Let's have a look at the differences into turn 1. All 3 drivers looking to take that optimum line, sticking on the outside, inside, and then running back out onto the out. A bit of a minor correction there from Lecky, and a small one as well from Pro Fubby. Not just I'd say it allows the console to build up. Looks as though there is a difference through the S's as Lecky there just catches the car, catches a little bit too much of the curb into the middle of the S, and lost a little bit of traction there, maybe even be a slowdown as I hear his revs just dropping away. And that's just given Pro Fubby a little bit of breathing room and put Lecky under pressure from Wadge in 4th position. And that we've got a battle going on with the Dutchman Tibby at the moment, chasing down Jack de Menzies. Oh, and bit of commentator's curse, the first one of the year. Flip on over to Tibby and he just loses the rear end, collides with the wall, and that's going to be some pretty heavy damage on that right hand side of the Beamer. Sees himself now slipping away and now under pressure from 74 Leggy, who looks to try and make a bit of an improvement You can see 74 Leggie's lap time that last time around, 138.9. That is much more what we come to expect from the older one of the Leggies. I think his previous lap to this was a 148, so improvement of 10 seconds that last time around. Porsche man has also set a his fastest lap last lap around. It is only a 142, so not able to hook them up together, but he is maybe going to be able to make some gains here on DJ Leggy in 12th place. Meanwhile, up at the front, the console is still holding off Pro Fubby at the moment. Looks as though he's been able to make a couple of paces extra of gain. Found himself gaining up about 0.2 of a second over those last couple of laps. Just a little bit of breathing room. You can see there Lecky now has fallen away from the back of Pro Fubby. Just a couple of mistakes through the S's last time around cost him in momentum, and still sitting in a pretty good position to finish this race, provided that he can hold on. In fact, it looks as though he's making gains. Let's have a look at the sector times in Sector 1. Just to put it into perspective, the console setting a 28.963. Pro Fubby a little bit quicker in Sector 1 that last time around with a 28.834. Lecky just falling away ever so slightly with a 29.531. Kovkar, meanwhile, looks as though he's getting the hang of this circuit now. He goes green in Sector 1 this time around, as does DJ Leggy. So a bit of pace being found from our mid-pack runners at the moment. Does look as though we've lost a driver as well. Just trying to have a look who that might be. It looks as though I'm just trying to have a look through the driver list, make some comparisons, but we've certainly lost someone. In fact, it looks as though it was J46 Dyson, which is really unfortunate. He was running well, but yeah, J46 Dyson finds himself out of the race. I'm not sure whether or not that was a disconnection issue that I've just missed, but sad to see in the first race of the season, that's for sure. Console's still making slight gains on Pro Fubby, or he was at least until turn 1. Looks as though Pro Fubby absolutely nailed that one. Made up about 3/10 just coming out of the exit of turn 1. Let's see whether or not he can make big gains through the S's. We'll jump on board in the cockpit now of Pro Fubby, and you can see he's right onto the back of the console. It's just enough corner where he doesn't lose traction on the front axle, and looks as though he's on the brakes a little bit later. Console braking hard. We can see the front tyres locking up under braking. However, that hard push has been able to just push Pro Fubby back a couple of tenths. And the difference in Sector 1 times around about 0.4 of a second between Pro Fubby and the console that last time around. Pro Fubby with the advantage of 4/10. Don't think it's going to be the same in Sector 2. In fact, yeah, it looks as though Pro Fubby just losing out. Only 0.04 of a second though in that region anyway. So really, really close between these two drivers. Pro Fubby definitely putting his foot down and stamping himself as a strong contender this season in the Touring Car Championship. That being said, looks as though Wadge has since moved past Lecky. Let's have a look over to Lecky, see if there's any damage on that Momo. No, looks as though he may well have just had a bit of an off, maybe caught it, or it could just be a mighty, mighty slowdown. But Wadge now moves up into 3rd position in that Hakeem, with Lecky now having to settle for 4th place, with Al Axon, aka All U82, not too far behind. You can just see him there making his way up the hill into turn 1. Look what's going on back here. Looks as though we've got a bit of a BMW slide fest going on there. Tibby just losing the rear end, holding off 74 Leggy at the moment. Is Leggy going to have the drive after that sort of smoke dramatics there from Tibby? Tibby tries to block off the place. He ends up giving it up in the end though. I think Tibby is suffering for some damage from that collision with the wall. You can just see the odd correction, and looks as though the rear end a little bit skittish there for the Dutchman, the Chevelle. But 74 Leggy moves up into 8th place now, whereas DJ remains in 11th. Not too far away from Green Gaming though. Looks as though at the moment from the split times just over a second between these two drivers. Green Gaming in the Monster Energy with DJ Leggy in 10th place. In the BMW, you can see just in the rear of the screen. Don't think we've had any pit stops yet. It looks as though the split times that we can see here from Porsche, Old Smoky and Casey Redwood is just because of the differences in lap times. We are now on lap 10 here of the COTA National Circuit, 28 or just under 29 minutes remaining inside this race. Looks as though we have got a little bit of cloud cover coming over the circuit, but that's not going to affect the track temperatures too much. Plenty of rubber already being laid down from these previous sessions that we've had going on. So just having a look at the best lap times so far. Fastest lap so far has actually been set by Pro Fubby. Now, for those of you that are new to Flux Motorsport and how we operate here, there is a bonus point offered for the fastest lap of the race, and so far looks as though Pro Fubby is going to be able to take that bonus point unless the console can pull something out in the remaining 28 minutes. We have since gone over to Lecky at the moment, being hounded after taking back that place from Wadge. Wadge is now back into 4th place, Lecky back up into 3rd, and looks as though Wadge there just making the moves on Lecky. Lecky's going to have to do well to try and hold him back. In fact, it looks as though he's had to adjust his line, and that's given Lecky a little bit of breathing room. Could well be a slowdown penalty, that one as well, not too sure. Meanwhile, up front we've got Pro Fubby keeping within that second touching distance of the console. We'll flick over to those now and have a look at what that actually means in terms of track position. Looks as though it's about 4 car lengths behind at the moment, with Pro Fubby chasing down hard as he has been throughout the very start of this one. Two drivers looking really evenly matched. Not much difference in lap times, except for that last lap around. Looks as though Pro Fubby made a bit of a mistake. He found himself 6 seconds off, if I'm to believe that one. This time around, though, both of them coming up very evenly matched. In fact, that is false data that's being reported at the moment. I'm looking at my telemetry. The console's previous lap was actually a 138.2, showing us 142.2 at the moment on the screen. Pro Fubby, meanwhile, managed a 136.937 that last lap, so continuing with a blistering pace there. Both British drivers, both from the south of England, and both of them pushing one another very, very hard indeed. Let's have a look at what's going on a little bit further back. It looks as though Kovkarl has been involved in some action, but it looks as though Jack de Menzies has since made that gap stretch a little bit. Currently running in 6th, Jack de Menzies, Kovkarl in 7th. And it looks as though 74 Leggy's been able to make up some great time in those last few laps. He's still a little bit far away. We can't see him in the distance, but a vast improvement as to where he was in the first third of this race for sure. Also looks as though Casey Redwood has moved up from final position. Was previously 14th. That's now been replaced and leapfrogged by Old Smoky, who's now in 14th. Just getting some word actually from the pit lane in regards to J46 Dyson. Looks as though just struggling ever so slightly for his setup on that one, and looks as though he's going to have to get himself out on track for next week. Ducked out, so it's going to be nil poir for J46 Dyson. We're going to have to come back again next week for the Snetterton 200 and see whether or not an improvement can be made. Looks as though there's been a bit of a mistake from Pro Fubby. He now finds himself 2.5 seconds back from the race leader at the moment. Let's have a look at what that means in terms of track position. In fact, it looks as though they're just coming up to some back markers here. That looks as though that is Old Smoky in the other Actrol vision, and we can see there, it looks as though the console about to pass Casey Redwood as well. Let's jump into the cockpit here. In fact, it looks as though Redwood's just moved alongside there for the console. He's about to do the same as well for Pro Fubby in just a couple of turns' time. It's not going to be the opportunity to do it here. In fact, yeah, just goes for the wide line. Pro Fubby seizes the opportunity, doesn't want to lose much time in his chase down for the console, and the race continues on with 24 minutes to go. Just shy of 2 seconds away now, Pro Fubby from the console. It looks as though the console is managing to maintain the form that we saw last season in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. And if you missed any of that, don't forget you can catch all of the championships at Flux Motorsport on our YouTube channel. There are also highlight videos just in case you don't have the time to watch the full 45 minutes brought to you from our media team. You'll be able to catch up in just 12-15 minutes time, depending on how the edit's been done. So grab yourself a cup of tea, or if you find yourself on a prolonged toilet break, stick it on and catch up with the season. It was a whitewashing from TheConsole last season, but that's not to say it was easy for him. Worked really hard and ended up coming out unbeaten in all championship races in Season 2. So 23 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, and it looks as though he's going to start the season off with a bang. Looks like we've got a bit of action going on at the back. It's 74 Leggy overtaking Tibby once again. So Tibby's obviously found his way past 74 Ledge, and that has now been reversed and repeated. So 74 Leggy moves up into 8th position, Tibby falls down into 9th, but still running well. The two of them going to score themselves some decent points at what is a rather tricky circuit for the BMW. I do expect that it'll come into its own in later weeks in this championship lineup. Some circuits certainly suiting the BMW, especially around Monaco. The rear wheel drive is certainly going to help around what is a very tight, twisty and wall-laden circuit. As we see 74 Leggy there just getting a little bit loose on exit. That's going to allow Tibby to try and put a bit more pressure on once again. It looks as though these two are going to be set up for a pretty close battle as this championship season progresses through. Both of them looking like they've got different lines, different driving tactics, but hopefully that's going to materialise into some really close, exciting racing as the championship progresses through. It looks as though we've got a bit of action going on at the back. Looks as though Old Smokey's about to make the move on Casey Redwood. He's going to try and hold on to the inside line. Casey Redwood, his front bumper just hanging off there, but he's done well to keep it out of the pits. The pit stop is going to harm these guys a lot. It's going to be pretty costly for the damage repairs and also for the pit entrance and journey through and out of the pits as well. Let's jump back over to the battle of the BMWs. Looks as though Tibby's about to take that place back. 74 Leggy does have the inside line, but he falls back into place. Obviously not confident that he's going to get that move done. In fact, we can see there as the camera angles itself out, there's quite a bit of different distance between the two. Bit of camera trickery once again. It did look as though 74 Leggy might have been able to make a move up the inside on exit, but just losing a little bit of traction, and the battle continues between these two. And look at that, up at the front of the grid, looks as though Pro Fubby's been able to find some time. He's worked up around about 0.7 of a second. You can see there that lock up once again from the front left of the console. That's not going to do his tyres any good, but it's certainly finding him a bit of pace in certain parts. Looks as though he's just losing out ever so slightly on traction on the run down to turn 1 here. Pro Fubby able to get within a second touching distance. We've got Lecky remaining in 3rd place. Looks as though he's comfortable now ahead of Wadge with around about 4.5 seconds. Wadge also in a pretty comfortable position, around about 3.5 seconds or so ahead of All U82. All U82 on his finest run here, the latest addition to the Flux Motorsport team staff, and he won't be too happy about this one. He definitely wants to try and get his hands on a championship trophy come the end of the season, and it's going to be a bit of a setback for him. But we've seen, for those of you that joined us throughout Season 2 of 2020, All U82 has got bags of talent, especially inside these touring cars, and I do expect a bit of a comeback, especially when it gets down to those British touring car championship circuits. Looks as though we've got all sorts of action going on back here in 8th place between Tibby and 74 Leggy. Green Gaming is also not too far behind this, as we see Tibby there making a huge mistake. It looks as though he clattered the camera. I don't think he clattered a wall, but that's going to lose out to 2 places in total. So 74 Leggy moves up into 8th place. Green Gaming now up into 9th. That'll be a strong finish from the Canadian in 9th place if he manages to hold it. I think Tibby's avoided any damage onto that 76 Chevrolet BMW, but we'll have to wait and see. Certainly looking to make that ground up as soon as possible as he... Oh, and a mistake there from 74 Leggy. Looks as though it was caused by Green Gaming, as we see Green Gaming doing the sporting thing there of waiting for 74 Leggy to get back on track. A little bit of a mishap there, but fair play to Green Gaming for waiting. That's going to allow DJ Leggy to try and catch up ever so slightly. But Tibby gets an absolute gift there, back into 8th place. And got a couple of seconds to play with as well now. Over to the front, it's TheConsole still in first position, 1.5 seconds or so ahead of Pro Fubby. We can see Pro Fubby in the Emochi Motorsport car just in the background of the picture. 18 minutes remaining now, and doesn't look as though we're going to require any pit stops here. We do run an accelerated tyre wear throughout all of our championships except the Indy cars. The Indy cars are just a little bit too much to handle. We don't want 5 or 6 pit stops throughout a race. But tyre management is definitely a key factor to what we do here at Flux Motorsport, trying to bring you the most authentic racing that we can and try and make it super competitive. So tyre management is going to be a big factor, maybe not so much in the touring cars, but when we start to get into some of the faster paced cars like the GT1s, the LMPs and even the stock cars, tyre wear is definitely going to be a strong contender. Not to forget as well the GT3s. We saw plenty of pit stops last season inside that one, especially as we were touring around America, the Middle East and Australia for that one. So as things have evened out ever so slightly, let me tell you, because I've told you already what the touring cars have got to bring. Let's have a look at the GT1 season. So we kick off, as I mentioned, with the Algarve GP at Portimao. Then we're heading over to Indianapolis's road circuit in the GT1s for race 2, the Zolder GP for race 3, and then Brands Hatch GP circuit for race 4. Then we're going to take it over to Road America's GP circuit, followed by Bernau's GP, and then Rouen-les-Essarts in France for race 7, and finishing up the season around the infamous Imola GP circuit. Then once we get stuck into the GTEs, the new edition for the Friday night, they're kicking off in an all-American lineup for Season 1. Daytona Road Course for Race 1, followed by Willow Springs International, Sonoma GP, then Indianapolis Road Circuit, followed by Road America's GP Circuit, and Watkins Glen for Race 6, followed by Laguna Seca Race 7, and then Texas Motor Speedway Road Course. That is going to be at night for the final race of the season. A little look what's going on here with All U82. Looks as though he's moved up into 5th. Well, he's held onto 5th position, but he's moved right on up to the back of Wadge here. And he's going to be challenging for 4th place pretty soon. It looks as though he's a little bit too far away to try and challenge Lecky, but we'll see what happens come the end of this race. Also, Jack DeMenzies in 6th position, not too far away, and looking to try and make some improvements. Just got to get his way past Porsche Man as a back marker who we can see just in the background there. Oh, beg your pardon, sorry, it was Porsche Man that was putting me off. Jack DeMenzies is actually about 20 seconds behind, so that is just the back marker of Porsche Man that I could see. I thought I saw 2 cars. So I've summarised the GT1, summarised the GTs. Let's have a look over to the LMP2 Championship. It was established last season, but it's going to be brought to you live on our YouTube channel this season, and we kick off with the Dubai Autodrome GP for race 1. Then we head on over to China for the Zhuhai GP, followed by this Quito GP circuit and the Sportsland Sugo circuit in Japan. Then a little whistle stop over the South Pacific to Bathurst before making our way over the rest of the Pacific for Circuit of the Americas in race 6, and then Indianapolis Road Course race 7 and Daytona Road Course for the final race of the season in the LMP2s. Remember folks, you can catch that live at 8 PM GMT every Saturday. Then on to the IndyCars, new championship for the season. As mentioned before, They're also running an All-American season this season, kicking off with Long Beach's GP circuit, followed by Willow Springs and Texas Motor Speedway Oval circuit. In fact, that kicks off 2 stops of the ovals, with Indianapolis Oval coming up in race 4, Road America GP race 5, followed by Watkins Glen Short, which is going to be very interesting for those big old Indy cars. Then Laguna Seca in race 7, followed by Texas Motor Speedway's Oval circuit. That's going to be a night race for the final race of the Indy cars. Then the GT3 Championship. Everybody loves it, and everybody is going to be eyes on Bruce Law and Blank File to see what the Curb Clipper drivers can do this season round, or whether we're not going to have an upset with some of the new lineup. There's definitely some strong contenders in all of our championships this season, with new drivers coming in from a very high talent pool, believe you me. Well, it looks as though we've lost a driver. It looks as though Old Smoky is out the race. So Casey Redwood now finds himself in 30th position. Old Smoky is not going to get any points for this one. As I was saying with the GT3 Championship, first race is over at Dubai's Autodrome. That's going to be a very tricky one in the GT3s. Love it or hate it, bit of a Marmite track. And then over to Zhuhai GP, followed by Sakito and Fuji Speedway. In fact, we've got 3 Japanese stops in the GT3s as we go over Pacific Tour, it seems, in the GT3s. So after Sportsland Sugo in race 5, we then got Rapuna Park in race 6. Then back on over to Dubai Autodrome for the National Circuit. Going to be super tricky in those powerful GT3 cars. And then for the final stop of the Pacific Tour, we're heading over to Bathurst in the GT3s. Looks as though, just as we get back onto the action here in the Touring Car Championship, Pro Fubby was actually coming under increased pressure from Lecky. And we can see him there, Lecky in the distance, looking to try and make a really strong finish and maybe get himself in the middle of the podium here and cause a huge upset from Pro Fubby. To wait and see what happens in regards to that. So in our final championship of the week, it takes place 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. It is, of course, the new inaugural season of the Stock Car Championships. Another All-American Tour here to introduce our American Time Zone Championship races. Kicking off with Daytona Oval, followed by Willow Springs, Texas Motor Speedway Oval, and then race 4 is Indianapolis's Oval Circuit. Then we head on over to Daytona for race 5, followed by Watkins Glen Short for race 6, Indianapolis Oval for race 7, and then Texas Motor Speedway Oval race 8. And that one's going to be a night race. So plenty to keep your eye on here at Flux Motorsport in the upcoming season. Depending on which time zone you're at, you will of course be able to check out all of the live streams from the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and if you're liking what we're doing, we'd love you to also hit the like button. And don't forget, we are a complete community-focused organisation. So if you like the content that we put out, we'd love you to show how much you love it in the form of a donation. That way we can feed back into our community events. And if you didn't catch the community event, we just finished our winter special event, which was One Night of Hell. Pogo Mojo, one of our latest staff members from the America region, coming out victorious on that one with some fantastic rallycross light driving. Really was balls to the wall, and you'll be able to catch up with all of that on our YouTube channel. Just have a search for One Night of Hell Flux Motorsport and you'll be able to find it, or navigate your way through from our channel homepage. So I can see on the comment section of the YouTube, a lot of support going through. We've got Essex Flat Pack, currently sat in the reserve list, just missed out on a seat with this one, but a super quick touring car driver. He's waiting in the wings in the reserves, and he'll be itching at a go to try and race with these guys. If he does get in to check out his performances, he's going to be up at least in the sort of top 5 running for most circuits. Raced with him quite a bit. Super quick inside the touring cars. Also got STDRS giving Fubby some support And Happy New Year to you as well. Lucy Axon giving plenty of support to Al Axon, currently running in 5th position. Frequent watcher there, Lucy. I think you get a gold star for top fan for sure. So 9 minutes remaining. Pro Fubby 2.1 seconds away off the pace of TheConsole at the moment. Also looks as though Lecky is putting in some blistering lap times, as is Wadge as well. Let's not discredit that. Both those drivers running in the 136s at the moment. Just bringing up my telemetry lap boards. In fact, Wadge put his fastest lap that last time around with a 136.930. Green lap from him. Let's have a look at how far away Lecky is. Let's jump into the cockpit of Lecky at the moment. You can see there, that is Pro Fubby in the foreground in that Motorsport. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a flash of pink as well. Yep, just coming around that tight cutback hairpin. So Lecky within touching distance. I think he's just on that sort of requirement of somebody to make a mistake, because both the front two drivers looking super consistent. Lecky there getting really brave on that curb. That inside curb can quite easily spit you out, but he's rode it well. As we jump trackside now, we can have a look at Lecky there. Looks as though we just got the second to last corner just ever so slightly wrong. A little bit of a correction from Lecky, but holds it all together. Not lost too much time. Finds himself just shy of 5 seconds away from TheConsole at the moment. As we come into the final few stages, looks as though we're going to have another 4, maybe even 5 laps here of COTA National, and anything can happen in those. Looks as though Wadge is around about 6 seconds off Lecky, but all you 82 is closing down slowly but surely. We can have a look at that split time, just tightening up ever so slightly. Cycling through my telemetry screens and have a look at that live gap at the moment. 3.7 seconds it seems between both Wadge and all you 82. Not too far away at all. And neither is the distance between Pro Fubby and TheConsole. Tit for tat all the way through this one. Definitely two drivers that are more than equal to each other. Looks as though TheConsole has just been able to maintain ever so slightly better than Pro Fubby. It's been a bit of a roll of the dice at some times, and you can see there in that last lap around, Pro Fubby actually lapping over half a second quicker than TheConsole. So it's not over until the fat lady sings, they like to say, and she's not been blasting out any notes as of yet. Oh, as we see there, Tibby just moving alongside, letting the front runners come through. I thought that something had gone amiss there, and we might have been having a yellow flag caution, but as it was, just blue flags and Tibby moving across. Tibby in 11th place, did lose out to both Ledgies in the end, but Green Gaming has been one of the surprises of the day. Currently in 8th position, and he's in 8th quite comfortably as well. Doesn't look as though he's got anybody in close proximity in front of him, but he's also got around about 6 seconds of a gap between himself and 74 Ledgie in 9th position. So 5 minutes and 30 seconds remain, and TheConsole continues to reign supreme as he approaches the rear end of, I do believe that'll be DJ Ledgie with the yellow mirrors. Let's just jump on board and let's get a good view of how TheConsole is taking it. You can, I'll also bring up the speedo. Let's have a little look at how he's taking himself around this COTA National circuit. We'll look at the differences between the BMW and the Megane. Look at the way that the Megane is just able to ride the turn there. I think it might have just been the blue flag of him letting him past, in a really safe place to do so as well. I don't know whether Pro Fubby will have gained much from that. In fact, it does look as though he's gotten through quite comfortably ahead of 74 Ledgie. So in case you didn't catch much of them last season, both of the Ledgies, it's almost like a thoroughbred racing team. In fact, sorry, I do beg your pardon, it was actually DJ Ledgie with the yellow mirrors. 74 Ledgie up ahead of these drivers at the moment. But yeah, it's a father and son combo, both of them super quick in everything that they race. Doesn't appear that way in tonight's race standings, but trust me, you're going to see much more from the Giro as the season progresses. Back into the touring cars with a bang, I'd say, with TheConsole and Lecky, and entering the fray with a bang from Profubbi and Waj. Really impressive displays from all of our top 5 drivers, in fact top 6 to be honest, because we saw a mistake early doors from All U82. He's managed to claw it back, and looks as though he's going to be finishing in 5th position. Also Jack de Menzies, he's 41 seconds away from the leaders, but he also got himself wrapped up at some point, found himself dropping down the order, and has managed to claw it back and hold on to a pretty comfortable 6th place, provided that Kovkarl doesn't get onto the back of him in the remaining 3.5 minutes. Look at Profubbi now, he's not too far away, about 3 car lengths, maybe even 4 car lengths behind TheConsole, and chasing down at a serious pace here. Jump on board with Profubbi now as he tries to make his presence known and make a nuisance of himself, especially with TheConsole. Looks as though he's just about to approach the back marker of 74 Leggy. That could give Profubbi the window of opportunity, or it could well hold him back. We'll have to wait and see how this one pans out. Comments from Essex Flat back here saying Fubbi could add this, he's great at saving tyres, and I think it is all about saving tyres at this sort of stage. The track temperatures are quite high, not high for Texas standards, but high for the sort of abuse that this COTA National circuit will put them through. And tyre wear is definitely going to be a factor in the later stages. I think that's why we're not seeing too much of a big push in terms of lap times. Not able to rely on the current in-game lap time telemetry. Just see whether I can reset my telemetry panel and try and get a better idea of what's happening, because I guarantee that TheConsole did not set a 141.266 that last time around. There's not a chance that he lost out on that much time, otherwise Profubbi would be ahead by miles. So 2 minutes remaining and Profubbi is all over the back of TheConsole. Certainly not going to make it easy for him. My telemetry is now back online. In fact, Profubbi's actually gone purple in Sector 1 according to this, although I think that's because my telemetry is reset. I'll have to wait and see on that. As they move away through the back markers, we'll have to have a look and see what sort of lap times they come in with. Half a second in it though as we enter what is going to be the final lap here at COTA National. It's coming down to the wire, ladies and gents. Profubbi or TheConsole, it's going to be one of them, and it's not going to be easy to call. It's going to be all the way down to the wire for sure. Let's jump on board with Profubbi and watch how he tries to get the better of TheConsole. Just 18 turns remaining here in the start of the Flux Motorsport touring car season. In fact, the start of the Flux 2021 season, in fact. Just see there Profubbi just getting a little bit loose, maybe pushing ever so slightly too hard in his do or die final lap. You see him there just getting a little bit sideways and scrubbing speed off, and that's allowed TheConsole to move on through. In fact, it looks as though TheConsole is just about to overtake the back marker of Green Gaming, and so does Profubbi as well. Lecky, meanwhile, is unable to capitalise on this opportunity. He's just fallen ever so slightly back, and we see an uncharacteristic lock up there on the front right from Profubbi. Haven't seen that throughout the entire race, which shows that he's pushing himself pretty damn hard. Lecky, meanwhile, looks as though he's dropping away in terms of his sector times. That being said, my telemetry has reset, so just see the gap just forming up here between Profubbi and Lecky. So I don't know whether or not that's Profubbi pushing hard, but it's not being enough, unfortunately. In his debut race here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship, the race victory is going to go to TheConsole, followed by Profubbi in what has been an epic battle between those two. Lecky 2000 comes across the line in 3rd position. In fact, looks as though there's been a race penalty applied. Lecky moves up into 2nd What a turnout for the Bucks there. Patience certainly paid off. We'll check out those penalties that have been applied at the end of the race. Wadge comes in 4th position, followed by All U82 in 5th. Jack Menzies now just coming around the final 3 turns to secure 6th position in his first race. Does look as though 74 Leggy's got the better of Green Gaming in the end, as we see Jack Menzies now just making his way up and past the line. Look on over to Kovkar, running in 7th. He's been in clean air for quite a while now, and it's been a pretty comfortable session for him, really. Not under an immense amount of pressure up until, well, he was, I suppose, at the start of the race, but once it balanced out, he was in clear air for most of it. Comes across the line in 7th place, and now it looks as though Leggy's just running. In fact, they've already crossed the line from the look of their pace at the moment. Most drivers look as though they're just completing their sort of cool down as we wait for the drivers to cross the line. Who is it going to be? It's Casey Redwood coming across the line in 13th place. Perseverance paid off there for Casey Redwood. Hung in there where we had a couple of dropouts, and that's going to secure him a few points just for perseverance. Here are the final standings for this evening's racing. Penalties all round, it seems. Pro Fubby though with a huge amount. So the console comes out on top with 6 seconds worth of penalties. That just put Lecky 2.5 seconds behind. So Lecky will be kicking himself that he couldn't keep that one clean. Otherwise he would have got the race victory. But still an effort from the top 3 drivers for sure. Pro Fubby comes out in 3rd place after his 13-second penalty. But of worthy note, he looks as though he's come out with the fastest lap of the session, so it's going to be a bonus point for Pro Fubby at the end of the day. Maggio comes out in 4th place. Great finish from him in his debut race. Even with a 3-second penalty, finds himself 4.5 seconds ahead of All U82, the season pro. Jack Menzies in 6th position, with Kovkar in 7th. And then 74 Leggy in 8th place, ahead of Green Gaming in the end. Green Gaming with a 10-second penalty, and finds himself in a pretty comfortable position despite that penalty, ahead of DJ Leggy. Tibby, after his early accident damage, has found himself down in 11th place, ahead of Porsche Man though, with Casey Redwood finishing in 13th. Then Old Smokey and J46 Dyson unable to complete the race. So that is all that we've got time for here in race 1 at COTA. You'll be able to join myself again for race 2 as we take it up to over to Snetterton for the Snetterton 200. You can tune in the same time next week, Tuesday 8 PM UK time, or you can check out me crashing into some barriers in the GT1s with Lecky 2000 hosting the GT1 session live and direct 8 PM UK time. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Remember, you'll be able to check out all of the action and relive it live on the YouTube page. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And other than that, that is all from me. Stay safe, ladies and gents, wherever you are in the world, and we will see you all again very shortly. Good evening.